Part 20. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 191. Secret Eye. Level 3 spell. Creates an invisible magical detector that transmits visual information. It can move and pass through holes or spaces with a diameter of no less than 1 inch. Gretel strongly suspects that this is because the mystic eye itself is 1 inch in diameter. This spell, in the eyes of the mages who created it, or in the eyes of the mages who maintain the secret lock, is a very useful detection magic in adventurous journeys, and is also a very useful monitor in daily life. But in Gretel's view, the arcane eye only means one thing. Endoscopy. Endoscopy. Laryngoscope. Gastroscopy. Colonoscopy. Bronchoscope. Laparoscopy. Although we have to think of another way to send the mystic eye into the body, although the light source, sampling, cutting and attraction have to be designed separately, although the mystic eye itself has to be reduced, and it must be greatly reduced. Both the esophagus and the trachea are far less than 1 inch in diameter. Not to mention laparoscopy, the inner diameter of the puncture device is usually 5.5 mm, 10.5 mm, or 12.5 mm unless the secret eye shrinks to 1 cm in diameter, it can't go anywhere. However, it is better to have ready-made spells and directions for modification than to use your brain in vain. Gretel was lying on the glass window, staring at the nearest light screen, trying hard to see clearly the way the mystic eye presented the picture. How far can you see? To what extent? Is the picture distorted? Will the colors be distorted? If possible, it is best to put it into a dark environment to see how bright the picture can be displayed, and whether it is necessary to add a light source. His eyes were almost glued to the wall. Master Anthony couldn't stand it and held him back. What are you looking at here, looking at the mystical eye? The mystic eye is a spell from the prophecy school. What's the point of staying in the mysterious lock hall? Ah. Greet was dragged away by him in dismay. From the prophecy school? He has never been very interested in the school of prophecy. Of all the basic spells, he only learned detection magic, reading magic and language understanding. If he wants to learn secret eye, I don't know if his knowledge reserve is enough. Also, Arcane Eye is a third-level spell that requires a level 5 magician to learn. If you want to improve it, you don't know which level it needs to be. He has just been promoted to level 2. Goodbye. The magicians in the mystery hall are busy. Gretel looked at their badges through the glass wall. The levels of these people were not too high. Except for a leading archmage who was level 10 or above, most of them were level 5-9, which was responsible for the daily maintenance of the mystery lock. Monitor work. So you need to be at least level 5 to work here. Mage Corian leaned over and whispered. A group of students looked at each other with ugly expressions on their faces. The strongest among them was level 2, and they had just been promoted to level 2. In terms of work, he is only a little better than those apprentices who can only do magic tricks. Want to enter the Tower of Babel? They can't even understand what the magician inside the wall is doing. Gretel's attention was on the other side. The mystery hall was as warm as spring, and the magicians in the glass walls all wore light robes and no hats. Most of my hair is sparse, half is Mediterranean, occasionally bald, and all have dark circles under my eyes. Look at that energetic person. He is similar to the common coder in his previous life, and he is still better than the emergency doctor. After all, most coders are 996, and emergency doctors are more than just 996. As he looked at it, he saw a level 9 magician with particularly sparse hair yawning and wiping away his tears. I can't do it anymore. I need to rest for a while. He took out a small crystal bead and chanted a few times, and the ground rose. Create a semicircular blue sphere. The magician dove into the ball and disappeared. How lazy is this? Master Korean complained at the same time, you can only walk a few steps to the lounge, and you have to put it in a room, isn't this thing only used in the wild? Gretel's eyes lit up again. Is this house clean inside? Of course it's clean, Korean gave him a strange look, the shelter hut of the plasticity system is built purely with a force field. If it's not clean, there will be ghosts. It still needs to be tested whether it is clean or not. Greet is not very confident in the cleanliness of this spell, after all, even in a generally clean laminar flow operating room, used for general surgery, thoracic surgery, urology, obstetrics and gynecology, and otolaryngology surgery, every square centimeter of the floor is the infection density must be less than 5. But that's better than finding a random room or having surgery in the middle of nowhere. After all, if the shelter is not clean enough, you can spray disinfectant and disinfect the walls, which is much more convenient than disinfecting an old house. Gretel was really afraid of the abdominal surgery she had just done, while trying to stop bleeding in the liver and checking for damage to the intestines. She was always worried, fearing that a gust of wind would come from any direction and sand, dust, or even leaves and grass would fall into the wound. Sheltered cabin. Portable operating room. You must get this thing. Oh, by the way, this is also a 3rd level spell. What? So you have to reach level 5 before you can take the operating room with you. Gretel clapped his fingers. It was the beginning of April last year. I became a mage apprentice in mid-April. I became a level 1 mage in mid-June, which took 2 months. I became a level 2 mage in February this year, which took 8 months. At this rate, if everything goes well, we will probably be able to reach level 3 next year, and then in 3 years, we will be able to reach level 5. It feels so slow. In this little time, I have graduated from the 5-year clinical medicine program. His mood suddenly dropped. On the 15th floor of the Tower of Babel, a magician who was paying attention to him flashed his eyes and quickly wrote down. Gretel Nordmark isn't interested in the conjuration system? He was more interested in the mystical eye just now. The school chooses the magician, and the magician also chooses the school. Especially these seedlings who were selected from small rural areas and sent to training classes, showed great potential, and had not yet been snatched away. During this visit to the Tower of Babel, each school tried its best to show off its own characteristics. The original purpose was to attract as many outstanding young magicians as possible and make them willing to join their own school. The visiting team went all the way down. The School of Enchantment and Control, Greet's face was expressionless, and he drifted by. The School of Illusion, he continued to drift by. The School of Protection, he was slightly interested, but not too excited. The School of Change. Which spell is more interesting to me? Turn fossils into mud. Transform into giants? Malicious transformation? Ah, Master Mainland has given me a task. Greet glanced at it and continued to drift by. What the hell is it about turning a man into a frog? Where can I find a princess to kiss him? Oh, by the way, it is said that the newly crowned new king is a queen, and she is still unmarried. So there is no princess in the country, so she can only go to the mainland to get a prince. The elevator of the Tower of Babel continues to go down, below the clouds, to the ground, and finally deep into the rock formations. The indicator light on the -20th floor turned on, and the assistant coach who led the team cast a phantom sound technique on himself and raised his voice. Please wear your temporary badges and follow the team. Next is the Black Crow Swamp area. Please don't fall behind and be careful of negative energy damage. When the elevator door opened and we stepped into the corridor, the queue in front of us stopped for a moment. Gretel squeezed up to take a look. On both sides of the gloomy glass wall, there were long rows of corpses. There were humans, orcs, dwarves, and all kinds of strange mutants. Some were complete, some were half dissected. Some have organs soaked in bottles, and some have only skeletons left. there is a dazzling array of things to see and a welcome along the way. Gretel's eyes shone as he leaned against the glass wall again. Thanks to a cherry. Gray for the 100 starting coins. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, please review books. Which school of thought will our little Greet be snatched away by? It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 192. You are watching the exhibition in the Tower of Babel, and the Wizard of the Tower of Babel is looking at you from behind the magic circle. The one-day trip to the Magic Parliament was over, and the students in the training class took a small train down the mountain. As soon as the latest records from the observation room and the student information were sent up, there was a huge commotion in the Tower of Babel. The archmages took piles of compared materials, smashed the forms full of crosses, slapped the table, threw quills and ink bottles. If it weren't for the forbidden magic circle set up in the conference room, they wouldn't be able to do it even if they threw fireballs on the spot, threw rainbow light sprays at each other, disgusting people, etc. They are all good seeds. The country is such a big place, and each county only chooses one to catch it. They have been teaching together for such a long time. Archmages above level 10 teach in person, and mages above level 5, who are the backbone of the council, grade papers in person. The research direction, thesis topic selection, and the magic that can be redeemed to learn are all recorded in the training class. Learning ability, imagination, creativity, self-control, temperament and character are all the same among the teachers in the college, and they all watch them silently. It's finally the graduation season and you can grab someone, so why don't you strike first? Christian is 17 years old. She has 3 papers, 1 B and 2 Bs. 2 of the 3 papers are in the direction of spells. We, the spell weavers, want them. Korean Franz is 18 years old. He advanced to the 2nd level mage last month. 1A-, 1B+, and 1B3 papers, 1 on protection, 1 on conjuration, and 1 change system, 3 first level magics that have been exchanged, secondary deflection force field, spiritual armor and summoning spell materials. This one is biased towards the protection system. Do we want the unbreakable shield? No. We are also optimistic about this, otherwise, let Livia be given to you. Victor Mueller is 18 years old. He just advanced to level 2 mage last week, with 1A and 1B+. We at Thunderhorn want him. Hey, you guys, please be more restrained. His A paper is from the illusion department, and it should obviously belong to our illusion light sect. Don't rob Thunder Corner just by looking at it. But his mentor is from the plasticity department. What mentor? The presiding mage of the Mage Tower is also called a mentor. Ping, bang, crackle. Ink splattered and pieces of paper flew everywhere. In the corner of the long table, a female mage from the charm control department pulled her best friend and whispered. These 2 are from the same family, 1 for you and 1 for me. Wait for me to do some divination first. The female mage of the prophecy department began to take off her jewelry. 2 strings of pearl earrings, then a string of crystal necklaces, then a string of turquoise bracelets, a tourmaline ring, an opal ring, a tiger's eye stone ring. The female mage of the enchantment and control system was dizzy when she saw it. I said, why do you have more bits and pieces on you than me? Of course. You wear those 2 pieces of jewelry just to seduce people. I wear these for divination. The conference room was filled with persuasion, bickering, and haggling. In fact, there aren't many people worth arguing about. There are 60 or 70 people in this training class, and less than 10 people can be directly admitted by the Archmage. Others are allocated for their own organizations, 1 more and 1 less, and it is not a big problem to exchange one with another organization. Noisy and noisy, the student files on the table were reduced one by one. 2 hours later, there was only one left. Gretel, everyone wants Nordmark. I'm leaving first. The female mage of the enchantment and control department was the first to stand up. Her skirt was swaying, her ring was jingling, and there was a red mark slanting at the corner of her eye, which was extremely charming. She took 2 swaying steps. Seeing that her best friend was still sitting motionless, she looked back in surprise. Does your family want him? Of course, the female mage of Starlight raised her kodan and slowly put on the jewelry. Bracelets, necklaces, earrings, rings. Piles and piles of jewels and jewels were returned to their places one by one. In the end, everyone only saw a dark purple gauze, which covered the female magician's indifferent features. Who doesn't want it? A level 1 magician can cast arcane. There have been several in the past 10 years, and several more since the establishment of the Magic Council. Not to mention first-level mages, those who can cast arcane below level 5, except for those who die young if they indulge too much, all start out as archmages. With better luck, it will be the seed of legend. Does your school of prophecy want it too? The archmage of the transformation school was surprised. The old man from mainland, begged and begged, promised a pair of diamond golems to bring Gretel over. Even though the kid doesn't like the transformation system, for the sake of reward, he still has to work hard. This was the perfect opportunity to speak. The archmage's slender fingers rubbed a square, sometimes pulling out a strip, sometimes forming it into a rectangle, constantly changing it. He lowered his head intently and glanced at the female mage from the corner of his eyes. Are you sure he will come to your place? When he was at the Star Dome before, he wasn't very interested. But his first paper was about changes to detection magic. The female magician showed no sign of weakness, raised a pair of black and white eyes from the seam of the veil, and answered loudly. The paper I submitted recently is about sonic magic, but its essence is to detect the environment. Wouldn't it be a good choice for a magician like this to join our prophecy department? Prophecy? Forget it, the mage on duty of the spell weaver sneered. Your prophecy department relies too much on talent. What you eat is not the usual spiritual talent, but the kind of illusory and blabbering stuff. People with talent can level up very quickly, but those without talent will not be able to pass level 5 in their lifetime. Those who are talented often vomit blood and are often sick for 7 or 8 days, and their lifespan is half that of mages of the same level. You still insist on bringing him to the prophecy department. Are you sure you're not wasting a good seed? The female magician choked. Upgrading is difficult, and it is really the eternal pain of the prophecy system. Not only is it difficult, looking into the long river of time, but it is also very easy to damage one's body and life. Seeing that her momentum was low, the archmage of the conjuration department knocked on the table and continued leisurely. Besides, that kid is a healer. When it comes to treatment, why don't we go to Black Crow Swamp instead of the medical branch of our conjuration school? What happened to Black Crow Swamp? The necromancer shouted. That child is a natural necromancer. Have you ever seen him cure a disease? He never throws healing spells with his eyes closed. Every time he thinks about where the disease is, cut it open and take a look. Can it be cured? If it can't be cured, just cut it off. What can your medical branch teach him about this kind of treatment? What can you teach him? But he is interested in our school of conjuration. He is also interested in the necromancy school. As he was underground just now, I dare say that as long as the glass wall is opened, he can dissect corpses inside all night. What can your conjuration school give him? At least we have enough corpses here. He can dissect him as much as he likes. When it comes to interest, I think he is most interested in the evocation school. The archmage from Thunderhorn interjected slowly after watching the show for a long time. You shut up. You shut up. The two mages from Black Crow Swamp and Spellweaver spoke in unison and turned to spray him. The Archmage of Thunderhorn stood up with his eyes raised, glaring at the two men at the same time. The magicians of the evocation school are generally very capable in single combat. 1 versus 2, there is no fear at all, not to mention that the necromancy school is not only afraid of the holy light, but also the specialty of the evocation school, such as thunder, fire, and so on. Stuff. The air crackled. Even with a high standard anti-magic force field suppressing it, sparks almost erupted. It's better not to argue. Wu Jianqi, the Archmage of the Protection School, is a white-haired old man with a round face and a happy smile. As the host of this meeting, he watched the show until now, and then slowly spoke to break up the fight. Talents like this are indeed rare. No one wants to let go, and I understand that. How about we report the situation and let the gentlemen of the review committee make the decision? Then, no one is allowed to negotiate terms with him first. Okay. Don't run away. Thanks to @xi and Yanran for the 100 starting coins. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, ask for all kinds of. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Jiolan 2020. Chapter 193. The meeting broke up unhappy. The great masters went back to their respective homes. Armed with the prepared information, each of them looked for teachers, senior brothers, and archmages who were interested in recruiting disciples. The Magic Council's review meeting will meet every 10 days unless there is an emergency. The next meeting is in early March, nearly 10 days away. After all, the archmages at level 13 and 14 are either busy studying magic or rushing towards the level 15 mark. Summoning them out once every 10 days is already very disruptive to their work. No matter how intensive the meeting is, I am afraid that the gentlemen of these review committees would rather leave the Magic Council headquarters far away to get rid of this burden. Within these 10 days, invitations or recruitment information from various schools and magic organizations continued to arrive in the hands of the students in the training class. Korean Franz. Are you willing to join the All Things Are One organization? If you are willing, please sign here, and at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, go to the 11th floor of the Change Mage Tower on the top of the mountain to report to Master Lawrence's research team. Great, I do. Anthony Valentine? Thunderhorn intends to recruit you to join. If you are also interested, take this badge at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and go to the 23rd floor of the Energy Evocation Mage Tower on the top of the mountain to find Archmage Agram. Miss Catherine? Mrs. Laura Barthel of the Illusion Lightgate intends to accept you as a disciple. Every invitation and every offer can trigger a burst of cheers and envy in the training class. Greet looked left and right, and saw that the students who had received invitations were almost all the top students in the class, and they were sorted from best to worst, bit by bit. So far, 11 offers have come in, 8 of them have advanced to level 2 mages, and the remaining 3 have at least 1A in their previous ratings. Regardless of ranking or performance, they are all the best in the training class. Then why doesn't anyone want me? I am also a second-level mage. There is an A and in my rating. I also posted an article on Arcane. 3 offers came in on the first day, but Gretel remained calm. 2 more came the next day. Greet shrugged his shoulders and continued to see a doctor at the treatment center after class. The 3rd day, the 4th day. The recruitment quota for the 8 auxiliary towers on the top of the mountain is obviously full. The next ones to recruit people are Bridge Magic Academy, Wheaton Magic Academy, Cow's Magic Academy, and the mage towers around Neva City that belong to level 10 or above archmages. Do not The research conditions between these personal mage towers and the main mage tower belonging to the school and the Magic Academy are very different. At the very least, in Bridge Magic Academy, Gretel had never seen thunder constrained by a force field, nor had he seen the secret eyes connected into a light screen. The highest teacher in the academy is only a level 5 mage. Greet, don't worry, Master Anthony kindly came over to comfort him. You already have an arcane, everyone wants yours. But my arcane article is about the undead faction, and I have already rejected Black Crow Swamp. Maybe, they are just still robbing people. Corian also came over to comfort him with the notice of changing factions. Gretel reluctantly twitched the corner of his mouth. Robbing someone? In a gesture of grabbing people, didn't everyone hand over offers and set conditions for me to choose? That's right. It must be Gretel, you're late. The little Master Miles only got the offer in the second round. He failed to get into his favorite Light of the Stars and was finally recruited by a great mage from the Illusion School. There is no need to think about direct disciples, but it is still possible to join the research team of the Mage Tower and serve as a starting point for level 5 mages. It can be considered that he has not left the front line of research. He struggled to make his point. Greet thought for a while and found it quite reasonable. Greet, you came late, you didn't participate in the first evaluation, your score is one less than the others, and your paper is one less than the others. Does anyone know how they are ranked? If the scores from each time are added up, wouldn't you suffer a loss, Gretel? Otherwise, how many more papers will you submit? That makes sense. Gretel's eyes lit up. He is familiar with writing papers, writing water papers, and reviewing professional titles for water papers. The big guys are talking about papers in Area 1, and the mid-level ones are talking about Areas 2 and 3. In the past few years, even graduate students have begun to write about Psi in batches. Resident doctors are promoted to attending doctors are promoted to deputy directors are promoted to directors, etc. First pass, don't come up with a few papers. Besides, he has no shortage of papers or anything. From Heartland City to the Parliament headquarters, he has several articles in his hands. I've just been busy nagging. Either I didn't copy them in duplicate, or I didn't finish copying the pictures, and I never submitted them. Now is the recruitment season, and the offers from the best units have been slow to come. Even if you are temporarily cramming, you should try to make your presence felt. Greet thanked them and ran back to his territory. Continuing the habit of his previous life, after completing a research, he would write a paper to summarize it. Until now, half of the box has been filled with papers he has saved without even realizing it. On the sterilization effects of various basic magic and magical arts, comparison with high temperature and high pressure sterilization, and the necessity of the principle of asepsis in operating rooms in different scenarios. Several records of observing cork, onions, meat, and blood using homemade microscopes. Record of observing Shigella with homemade microscope. Using heated mercury to demonstrate the nature of combustion. On the isolation and treatment of large-scale outbreaks of dysentery. On the production of simple thermometers and the role of body temperature measurement in medical treatment. Thoughts on injury assessment and differentiated treatment in battlefield treatment under the premise of lack of treatment power. Throw them all out? Or just lose a few articles? Gretel rubbed his chin and thought for a moment. Forget it, just throw them all away. You can't hatch eggs even if you keep them in your hands. No, you can't save them until the next round to help you get professional titles. Anyway, that little monster named Goldcoin recently helped him rub a second microscope, so that he didn't just have words and no real objects, and he was beaten back inexplicably. Gretel stepped into the White Tower again. It was the Magic Review Center. The flower elf was leading the way, the beautiful lady was smiling at him, and in the dedicated office for submitting magic, the mechanical voice of the tablet repeated over and over again. To submit magic, please press 1, To inquire about paper feedback, please press 2, to receive paper rewards, please press 3, to re-listen, please press 4, for manual services, please press 0. 1. 1. 1. Greet's hand was almost broken when he pressed the buttons. In the room, the automatic feedback device repeated over and over again. Please put the paper into the teleportation magic circle. Sir. This gentleman inside. Do you need help? Is the paper delivery platform broken? Thanks to @Bingzonks Yurui for the 1,500 starting coins reward. Today I watched Master Chef recommended by readers. It was great. It's the kind of Western fantasy novel that I like, that is neither rushed nor slow, but also a little interesting. And it was written by a wife too. Moreover, this wife and I have the same updating habit, and we also update at 12 o'clock and 2000 hours every day. What a coincidence. I can't stop watching. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, please review books. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 194. The teleportation circle flashes continuously. One paper after another appeared from the transfer box and fell into the sorting center on the 10th floor of the Tower of Babel. The transfer port of the sorting center is smooth and flat, with a slight downward slope. Papers slide along the transfer port into the lower array. Above the magic circle, a piece of blue light lit up and fell straight on the cover of the paper, where the keywords were written. Keywords: Undead, Evocation, Orcs, School of Necromancy. Outside the magic circle, the 3-foot diameter disc rotated 3/8 of a circle and stopped accurately. The magic circle tilted slightly, and the paper in the center was poured into the transfer box directly in front. A ray of light spreads away and disappears. Keywords: New plants, Toxicity, Transfer to Prophecy School. The disc continues to rotate clockwise. After May 8 turns, a transport box marked Prophecy stopped and picked up the paper. The identification of new items, unless otherwise specified, will all be classified into the Prophecy School and included in the Identification Technique Resource Library. Keywords: Thermometer, Production, Body Temperature, Transformation School. With a plop, Gretel's article on the making of simple thermometers and the role of body temperature measurement in medical treatment slid forward and fell into the transfer box of the School of Change. The teleportation magic was activated, and the next moment, it appeared on the top of Igor Peak, on the 11th floor of the auxiliary tower of the School of Change, and was held up by a pair of invisible arms. New paper? No magic attached. Another magic circle buzzed into action. Lines of writing and pictures appeared on the white paper, and the new papers were copied in duplicate. Invisible hands took out the papers, put them into 2 boxes, opened the drawer on the belly of the alchemy devil next to them, and stuffed them inside. Directly transfer to Mr. Aslan and Mr. Sloan. Yes, transfer directly to Mr. Aslan and Mr. Sloan. The alchemical golem responded sweetly. The wheels rolled under its feet, chirping dealy dealy and dealy dealy as it drifted out of the room. Go through the aisle, enter the elevator, go to the corresponding floor, take out the paper, and put it into the to-be-received document basket of the magician on duty. Gretel's paper was divided into chapters. The 2 treatment-related articles were sent to the School of Conjuration and Medical Care, the 2 articles related to microscopy were assigned to the School of Prophecy, and the one about curbing dysentery was sent to the School of Necromancy, like other papers on spreading plague. Edgar. That Gretel you mentioned last time submitted a paper to us. Pyramid -12, yes, there is a symmetrical inverted pyramid at the top of Eagle Peak, under the pyramid-shaped Master Tower. On the -12th floor, a crow with white spots on its wings spread out and flew over, stopping outside the magic barrier and squawking. Submitted your paper. Archmage Edgar stopped the quill in his hand and pressed the ruby on the skeleton's left eye. The ruby retracted inward, the magic barrier opened a small opening, and the crow immediately flew in. Without waiting for its owner to say hello, it landed on the skull's head, lowered its head and pecked the sapphire in the skull's right eye. The invisible barrier rose again, shutting out the screams, shouts, and the singing of the banshee outside the room again. The crow raised a paw proudly. Archmage Edgar untied the ribbon on its feet, took out a paper, and handed the crow 2 pieces of dried meat. "Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Say hello to your master for me, I owe him a favor." The crow slowly finished the dried meat, pecked open the barrier, spread its wings and flew away. Master Edgar hummed a song and unfolded his thesis. "Submitting your thesis so soon? It seems that this kid is still very interested in our Black Crow Swamp." Not every one of Gretel's papers was so lucky. There were 2 magicians on duty at the School of Conjuration. One was out to visit friends, and the other happened to be conducting a large-scale experiment and had been told not to disturb him in advance. Therefore, the papers they were responsible for reviewing were naturally transferred to the hands of students, and even students. Classification of wounded soldiers on the battlefield? Why is this kind of paper sent to us? It should be something that the priest is concerned about. The author is a 2nd level mage. Doesn't he know how to study magic at the 2nd level? He is not doing his job. 2 microscopy-related papers were even more unlucky. It's not that the reviewer was not doing his job properly, but that during the process of transporting the microscope, the apprentice holding the box fell. Bang! Bang! So, the magician in charge of the review scratched his head in embarrassment at a strange thing that was crooked and had a few pieces of glass missing. How should this thing be restored to its original form? Forgive him for not being good at this. If he was good at it, he would have gone to the transmutation department to become an alchemist, and he wouldn't have been miserable in the prophecy department. The college instructor who recommended him said this: "If you smash the Encyclopedia of Minerals, just smash it. The book won't be broken anyway." Then, he took the microscope with the eyepiece thrown off and the stage crooked, and began to read the paper and write the evaluation tremblingly. 10 days later, half of the trainees in the training class had received job offers or invitations to visit such and such a mage tower or such and such organization. Greet has so far come up empty-handed. He has only received feedback on some papers one after another. The thermometer was invented at least 100 years ago. Suggest the author expand the reading scope of the paper, or, at least visit more magic equipment stores. Well, small places and poor places are just so miserable. By the way, why doesn't the Magic Council develop an automatic paper query system, similar to Nki? Greet shrugged and continued to read the second reply. The way of classifying wounded soldiers and medical spells are not magically original. It is recommended that the author focus on magic and not be distracted by other fields. By the way, are you scolding me for not doing my job properly, or warning me not to give up on my thesis? In short, another not approved. Without any rewards for research points and contribution points, these 2 papers were written in vain. The article discussing the principle of sterility was given a basic point and a basic contribution point without any pain. The 2 articles on microscopes also only had basic points. Gretel looked at the microscope that had been smashed crookedly in the box, and the 2 eyepieces were speechless for a moment, but they understood why they had such comments. As for the article about dysentery, the review enthusiastically wrote, "This article uses creative research methods and detailed evidence to prove the way dysentery is spread and the ways to curb it. This article has extremely important reference value for the entire plague branch. It is recommended to award 30 research points for contribution 50 o'clock. Which necromancer did this fall into? Or is the Crow Swamp as a whole making overtures to me?" Gretel was speechless for a long time. The long paragraphs of comments were written for half a page, and between the lines, he said, "Come to us, you can study plagues and other things as you like. Otherwise, go to the necromancy school. Greet thought a little waveringly. No matter what, if you join the necromancy school, you can at least dissect corpses at will. Greet clenched the paper with some reluctance. He walked out of the White Tower, raised his head, and looked in the direction of Igor Peak. Thick clouds covered most of the peak, and Greet knew that in the clouds stood 8 wizard towers of different shapes, and the Babel Tower towering into the clouds in the center of the peak. By the way, why haven't I replied to my paper on phlogiston? They won't really repeat the experiment. By the way, when Lavoisier did that experiment, it burned for 12 days. Boom. A thunderous earthquake echoed high in the sky. Gretel's pupils shrank, and he saw that the dense clouds covering the tower exploded into a big hole, and the clouds rolled outwards, revealing the towering tip of the Tower of Babel. Thanks to @QVSJTPM. For the reward of 1,500 starting coins. Thanks to @Lofsway for the 500 starting coin reward. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, please review books. It's the end of the month, give me the monthly passes you still have saved in your hands. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 195. Chapter 195 Subverting the Phlogiston Theory, Boom. Like the necromancy school, there is also more than one archmage in the evocation school who is paying attention to Gretel. Master Herman's teacher in Heartland City, Archmage Lawrence. Archmage Carlyle who picked him up from the battlefield and brought him back to the Parliament headquarters. Archmage Kiefer, who lectures on sonic magic and brings his thesis to the council. And the guy who was banging the table in the Tower of Babel, even for his own sake, was keeping an eye on Gretel's movements, for fear that he would run away. Naturally, as soon as Gretel's paper was submitted, this news was placed on the desks of all the archmages. An improved version of Burning Hand? Is it the one I saw? Archmage Carlyle's eyes lit up. That time, he did detect powerful mana fluctuations on the magic compass, and later saw white fire spitting out with his own eyes in the sky. One shot after another, they actually burned out the famous holy blessing technique of the Glory Church, which left a very deep impression on him. At that time, Gretel was still a first-level mage, so he would never be wrong. Unfortunately, the Magic Council protects each mage's unique magic very strictly. A strange mage, a little mage with only level 1, created a powerful magic. Even if Carlyle was a level 14 archmage, he really couldn't bear to deceive and coax the other person to hand over the magic. We can only hope that the other party will finish writing the paper and submit the magic to the Parliament so that he can use formal channels to redeem it. So this is the white fire magic? What about the magic attached to it? It hasn't been approved yet. Archmage Carlyle knocked on the table, and a bird with a fan-shaped crest on its head and 3 or 4 black and white stripes on its wings fluttered over and fell into his palm. Archmage Carlyle turned the bird around, pointed it at its mouth, cleared his throat and said, "Vincent, the improved version of Burning Hand magic is the one that Gret Nordmark just submitted. If it passes, let me know and I will exchange it for one." The bird spreads its wings and flies out. After a while, he came back, opened his mouth, and from the pointed, slightly curved beak, another rich male voice came out. "You want me to review a level 1 mage's magic? Carlyle, you owe me a meal. I want the bottle of wine you took the photo last time." From Chateau Mailer. Archmage Carlyle smiled and shook his head. Only half an hour later, a woodpecker flew out of the magic barrier. Its long, hard beak kept tapping on the barrier. Its little head rose and fell, almost leaving an after-image. Tuck 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 tuck. The sound of woodpecking was so intense that it sounded more than 10 times a second. Archmage Carlyle covered his forehead and had to wave his hand to open the barrier. The woodpecker rushed in with its wings folded, and before it could stand still, it eagerly opened its beak. The rich male voice from before suddenly became sharper, and its speaking speed doubled as before. Carlyle. Where did you find this kid? After giving him such a modification, the power of level 1 Burning Hand has been pushed to level 4. Level 4. Is he your apprentice? If not, I will take action. Okay, here comes another robber. Master Carlyle curled his lips. He grabbed a handful of magic crystal powder and sent the woodpecker away. He got up and went to the exchange office of the Mage Tower to swipe his badge. However, Bai Huo did not appear on the redemption list. Carlyle waited and decided to go directly to the 27th floor and ask Vincent for the paper. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I felt something was wrong. The atmosphere on the entire floor was extremely depressing, like the feeling at the seaside before a storm, and I felt my chest feel tight after taking 2 breaths. The 5th, 6th and even 9th level magicians passing by were all trembling with fear and subconsciously walking close to the edge of the passage. Carlyle frowned, strode to Master Vincent's office door, and raised his hand to knock on the door. Just after the first knock, a roar burst out from inside. Roll. Vincent, I'm Carlyle. Roll. Carlyle was stunned for a moment. He subconsciously took 2 steps back, took another step, and listened. Soon, he heard Vincent stepping on the floor loudly, his footsteps quick, circling around like a trapped animal. It's impossible, it can't be like this, it's absolutely impossible, but... Vincent. What's wrong with you? Master Carlyle raised his voice worriedly. A magician encounters novel and subversive theories, which is both good and bad for him. If he can accept it smoothly, this will allow his magic to make great progress and may become an opportunity to advance. And if this theory is in extreme conflict with his inherent cognition, he has to admit that it is correct. Every magician's meditation environment is constructed based on his or her own understanding of the world. Above level 5, the meditation environment begins to stabilize, above level 10, the meditation environment begins to materialize, and above level 15, a mage can even absorb external elements based on his own meditation environment and directly construct a demi-plane. However, once the meditation environment that is already stable and solid enough conflicts with the understanding of the world, the magician will not be able to advance even an inch, and at worst, he will die or be disabled. The development of the Magic Council, every progress, every theoretical innovation, is based on solidified blood and milky white brains. The footsteps and mutterings in the room continued. Archmage Vincent turned around 7 or 8 times and suddenly jumped up. I want to verify. Yes, I want to do experimental verification. I won't believe anything until it is verified. Someone. Follow this list and prepare equipment and materials for me. The office door opened with a bang. Master Vincent strode out, the corners of his robe flying, and his brown beard exploding like a lion. Low-level mages swarmed forward, took the list, organized the experimental table, set up the retort, and took samples. Archmage Carlyle quietly stepped aside. He and Vincent have also been friends for many years. Now he sneaked into his office quietly, took out the papers, and frowned more and more. Is the phlogiston theory wrong? Combustion relies on combustibles and that thing named a. If this statement is correct, it completely subverts the theoretical basis of the plasticization school regarding combustion and the element of fire. Moreover, the little mage named Gretel has improved the burning hand magic according to this theory, and Vincent has personally verified it. What to do? I am studying the branch of wind element and water element, but my old friend is the best at fire element. Once the theory that he has believed in for many years is falsified, it will be almost a fatal blow to him. Carlyle was at a loss for a moment. Seeing that the glass dishes in the laboratory were set up and the fire was lit, he had no choice but to make a few copies of the paper, put it in his arms, and went directly to the Tower of Babel not far away. "Teacher! Teacher! There is an important paper, please read it." 10 days later, there was silence in the legendary mage's laboratory on the 378th floor of the Tower of Babel. Led by the legendary mage of the Evocation School, Master Deckard, followed by Archmage Carlyle, a dozen magicians stood in a dense crowd, staring at Archmage Vincent, who was operating the experiment in front of them. Mercury is heated and turns into a red powder. The volume of air in the container is reduced by 1/5. The remaining gas is unable to support combustion or allow the animal to breathe. The red powder is again subjected to intense heat, and decomposes into mercury and a gas whose volume is exactly equal to the volume previously reduced. In the newly decomposed gas, the wooden stick that was about to be extinguished was inserted. In an instant, the wooden stick burned violently and emitted a dazzling bright light. Using the newly decomposed gas as a casting material, the improved burning hand magic is released. The power of white fire is almost equivalent to the 4th level dragon breath technique. The contents of the paper, one by one, have all been verified. The more Vincent did, the paler his face became. He cast out the last spell with trembling hands. The improved white light of burning hands made his lips pale as paper. There are no more excuses, there is no room for refutation. The essence of combustion, the essence of the fire element, is indeed not phlogiston. He closed his eyes subconsciously. In an instant, the fire element in the meditation environment violently rioted. "Vincent! Don't meditate!" Master Descartes shouted. The sound was like thunder, and the magic circle in the laboratory was also pressed down at the same time, cutting off all elements within 1 square meter. Vincent shook his whole body, blood flowed from his nostrils and ears at the same time, and he sat softly on the ground. Carlyle reflexively rushed forward and stretched out his hand to help. "Teacher!" Master Deckard could no longer care about him. The legendary mage flicked his sleeves, rose into the air, and stepped in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. His left hand behind his back trembled violently, and his right hand moved forward, upward, and pushed straight out. Boom! A violent explosion shook away the dense clouds outside the Tower of Babel. Thanks to Etkutan Shari for the 100 starting coins. It's the last day of the month. Remember to give me the monthly passes you still have in your hands, as well as the guaranteed monthly passes for next month. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, please review books. This chapter, no, this article, is a tribute to Headshot God Throne. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Giolan 2020. Chapter 196. The violent explosion shocked the entire Tower of Babel. The floor-to-ceiling windows shattered and the magic barrier dissolved. Master Dickel pushed out with his palm, and the thick clouds covering the Tower of Babel rolled away and tore apart at least a quarter of it. The next moment, an angry female voice rose high in the thick clouds on the other side. "Deckard! Why are you taking down the mystery lock?" Amidst the voice of questioning, a man jumped up and stood in the air facing Master Dickel from a distance. Inside the floor-to-ceiling windows, a group of magicians only glanced at each other and then hurriedly lowered their heads. Standing in the void outside the window was a girl with a petite figure and an appearance as delicate as a doll. Wearing a mosaic leaf crown, 3 gems emitted thousands of silver lights in her hair, making her silver-gray eyes even more dazzling. On the neck, wrists, and nails, there are countless rays of colored light gently exhaling, echoing the light flowing from the Babel Tower. The girl's dark blue skirt was billowing high, hanging in the void, motionless in the strong wind and clouds. What flows on the hem of the skirt is not jewelry and embroidery, but countless incantations that are looming and blinking constantly, making people dizzy just looking at it from a distance. Ms. Helena, led by Carlyle, a group of mages who had not advanced to level 15, let alone touched the edge of legend, neatly saluted and greeted the visitor. Even Archmage Vincent, who was paralyzed on the ground, managed to lower his head while being supported by his friends. The person in front of me, who looks like a young girl, has actually been in the legend for many years. She is also the leader of the Conjuration School and the host of Igor's Mystery Lock. It really pissed her off. Even a legendary mage would stumble a few times in the Mystery Lock. So she raised her voice to question, but none of the lower-level mages present dared to say a word. Only the legendary mage Deckard flew out of the tower with an apologetic face and smiled bitterly at her. "Helena, I was looking for you. Please send a message to all the legendary mages in Nevis to come and discuss the matter. We are in trouble, Helena, we are in big trouble." Helena glared at him. Seeing that Dicker's expression was sincere and a little embarrassed, his anger gradually calmed down. The silvery gray in the eyes also faded quietly, turning into lavender, and the purple became darker bit by bit. "Shout everyone nearby. Are there not enough people on duty at the Tower of Babel? It's really not enough." Seeing that the silver glow in Helena's eyes faded, Master Dicker also breathed a sigh of relief. The conscience of heaven and earth, although he is also a legendary mage, and the mage level is one level higher than Helena, but the other party is responsible for maintaining the entire mystery. If they really fight, although he won't lose, he will inevitably be disgraced. He activated the force field, took 2 steps in the void, and saluted and apologized seriously again. "Sorry, Helena, I didn't mean to cause you any trouble. I really had an accident just now. If I hadn't vented that power, I would have been injured too." "Someone harmed you?" Helena frowned slightly and her eyes turned pale again. Discard quickly shook his head. "No, it's not. If this matter is not handled well, it will be a big trouble. If it is handled well, it may turn into a good thing. Well, you will know after you send the letter and come to my office to take a look." Helena snorted slightly. She stretched out her hands and her fingers danced in a dizzying manner. Thick clouds silently came from outside the tower, covering the Tower of Babel again. With a flick of his fingertips, 7 or 8 streams of light flew out from the Kodan, disappeared into the clouds, and disappeared. The light of the teleportation array lights up and goes out. Half an hour later, in the Oval Meeting Hall on the 155th floor of the Babel Tower, the legendary mages were sitting around the table. Everyone had a paper spread out in front of them, their faces solemn. "Has it been verified?" The rotating mage from the School of Change asked the question first. He was called out of the workshop by his disciples. There was a lot of crystal powder and mithril thread stuck between his fingernails and on the demon rhinoceros leather coat. Discard nodded heavily. "It has indeed been verified. I watched the experiment conducted by Vincent himself and almost, my meditation world collapsed." Oh, the legendary mages present were shocked. Next to Helena, another white-robed mage glanced at Deckard with concern, and made a hand gesture with a medical spell. "You are hurt?" "I don't have one." Deckard pushed his monocle gently. The slender mithril chain hung from the edge of his glasses and flashed silently on the side of his face. The legendary mage's face turned gloomy. But Vincent suffered a heavy blow. "I'm afraid the position on the review committee will have to be replaced in advance." A series of sighs. Opposite Discard, an old woman wrapped in black gauze spun the crystal ball. Suddenly her whole body trembled, and a mouthful of blood spurted straight onto the ball. Mrs. Ender, on the left and right, the 2 mages from the control and protection systems turned their heads at the same time. The old woman gasped and waved her hands. "I'm fine. I just deduced the process of the experiment." In the corner, a female magician serving as a waiter walked forward quickly. The Ender woman refused her service, took out a silk handkerchief, carefully wiped off the blood, and put the crystal ball into her sleeve. Deckard kept paying attention to the old woman's every move. It wasn't until she took back the crystal ball that she asked slowly, "What did you see?" "There is no problem with the experimental results." The old woman stretched out her wrinkled fingers and moved inch by inch on the paper. I turned one page, then another, and finally, on the last few lines of the text, half a bloody fingerprint fell. Here, I saw something terrible, something that could subvert the Magic Council. Everyone followed her and turned the pages of the paper. On the last page, based on the introduction, experiments, and inferences in the previous article, the author of the paper left a piece of arrogant advice. Based on the theory of phlogiston, only vague elements can be derived, which are so uncertain that they can be used to explain various things arbitrarily. If we start from the phlogiston theory and believe that elements are the simplest components of matter, then it may be difficult for us to determine what an element is at present. If, on the contrary, we associate elements with the concept of the ultimate limit reached by current chemical analysis, then all substances that cannot be decomposed by any method now are considered elements for us. Click to read the author's note. There was silence. Evocation system, transformation system, conjuration system, protection system, magicians of every school, or in other words, every magician comes into contact with the world of the four elements when they step into the door of magic. Later, wind, thunder and lightning were derived from water, and ice was derived from water. However, what exactly are elements? What is the original, the eternal thing that forms the basis of this world? The sound of heavy breathing echoed in the oval conference room. Finally, Master Discard slapped the table and stood up. "What's so scary? If you're not sure, then go test it. Go prove it. If you're wrong, overturn it." When the phlogiston theory overturned the fire elf theory, and when the fire elf theory overturned the divine gift theory, didn't we all walk through it like this? Yet. A flash of lightning danced on his monocle. With a tingling sound, he jumped from the lens to the crystal lamp in the center of the conference room, and then jumped from the crystal lamp to the silver rod lighting the four walls. The steady lighting in the conference room suddenly became flickering, like a haunted house. Helena coughed, raised her hand and tapped the table, directing the electric light into the wall, where it decomposed and disappeared. The legendary mage of the protection system said leisurely, "But the damage will be huge. The road to overturning existing theories is never easy. If the new theory conflicts with the meditation environment, many people will be killed or injured, even the legendary mage will inevitably be killed or injured. The fight against the glorious cult, the relationship with allies, the development of different spaces, everything needs to be adjusted. That's why I asked you to come," Dickel replied proudly. "We must arrange the manpower on duty, pay attention to blocking information, and disclose the parts that have been successfully verified little by little. Otherwise, what are we supposed to do? Do we expect the judges to meet those little guys?" The legendary mages all nodded. Helena suddenly closed her paper, raised her chin, and half smiled. "By the way, what should I do with this little guy named Gretel? Leave him outside? When will he throw out a paper and blow up a few heads?" His fiery eyes focused instantly. The white-robed priest of the conjuration department pressed the table and was about to speak, but was interrupted by Mrs. Ender. The old woman covered her lips with a bloody silk handkerchief and coughed so hard that she couldn't raise her head. "We, cough cough cough, we." The white-robed mage immediately stopped and muttered a spell, and a soft rain of light fell on the old woman. Mrs. Endo's expression gradually softened, but her eyes suddenly darkened. The legendary mage from Black Crow Swamp floated up. Under the empty black robe, red light bloomed in the skull's eyes, and the mandibles collided. "Us. He belongs to us," Descartes interrupted loudly without any explanation. In the monocle, the bright electric light sizzles, moves back and forth, almost shooting out of the frame. "Send his paper directly to me." If he causes any trouble, we at Thunderhorn will deal with it. Thanks to at 03141043WLW, at Zikia for tipping 100 starting coins. The follow-up order dropped from 570 to 508, and then rebounded back to 605 within 48 hours. Being happy. A friend said, I have finished my elementary school and junior high school exams. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, please review books. It's the last day of the month. Remember to give me the remaining monthly passes for this month and the guaranteed monthly passes for next month. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 197. Chapter 197. Where is Gretel Nordmark? The meeting of the legendary mages was in complete darkness. How to gradually promote the new theory that subverts phlogiston theory, arrange for people to write papers first, slowly spread the word, organize magicians to learn step by step, and try not to create a large number of headshot mages, this needs discussion. How the legendary mages can shrink strategically to ensure that when one or two of them fall, someone can take over, so as not to shake the foundation of the headquarters, needs to be discussed. How to release smoke bombs while giving up territory, how to prevent the Lord of Radiance from becoming suspicious, how to explain and coordinate with allies, this also needs to be discussed. Even the 8 major sects and various mage organizations must coordinate with each other. For example, if you, the Thunderhorn, have brought a legendary seed under your control and gained the greatest benefits, you don't necessarily want us, Black Crow Swamp, to take the blame for you, right? By the way, we have to block the news, and block Greet's paper, and even his name. Prevent output from the outside and prevent spread from the inside. Fortunately, the legendary mages had experienced more than one life energy transition and were full of energy, so they were able to close their doors and hold meetings for a whole day and night. Meditation. Sleep. Occasionally, if I don't meditate, the sky won't fall. It's rare that I don't sleep for a night, and I can't automatically generate magic. There are also things like mana potions that hold up. Besides, Mount Igor is the safest place in the kingdom. As long as Igor's mystery lock is opened normally, even if the Lord of Radiance attacks with all its strength, it will still be able to withstand the legendary mages until they are full of sleep. This type of meeting is extremely efficient. At the end of the day and night, the legendary mages smashed 2 tables and tore off bundles of manuscript papers. There was a buzz in the conference room as if it had snowed twice, and all the issues had actually been finalized. Master Dickel went out in high spirits and called to his disciples. Carlyle, go and bring that little guy up. During this period, before the storm passes, let him stay in the Tower of Babel and read in peace. Carlyle took the order and left. His magic airship was a piece of equipment he received from the Magic Council when he went to the battlefield. He did not own it. At this time, he took the magic train and slowly went down the mountain. Come to Bridge Magic Academy and ask the teaching assistant of the training class. Today is a day off. Gretel Nordmark? Or, can I accompany you to the library or the student dormitory to look for him? The dormitory was empty. The library was full of students, but the teaching assistant went in and looked around, but saw no sign of Gretel. Fortunately, many students in the training class were reading inside, and the teaching assistant asked a few of them around, and actually found out the target's whereabouts. Gretel? Recently, he has been in the treatment center every afternoon. Master Carlyle. Why go to the treatment center every day? Are you planning to change your career to become a pastor? Isn't the mage bad? Can't the Magic Council support you? Fortunately, the treatment center is not far away, and in the Fishy Port area, this 2-story building is eye-catching enough. Master Carlyle waved away the assistant, summoned a phantom pony, and turned over. The magic horse stepped forward with its hooves and broke through the wind. It didn't take long before it stopped at the entrance of the treatment center. Where is Gretel Nordmark? Master Carlyle didn't even jump off the horse, but waved away the phantom colt and landed directly on his feet. He rushed into the treatment center, looked around, and asked hurriedly. However, the treatment center was empty. Not only was there no sign of Gretel, not even half a priest could be found. When he looked again, he saw a closed today sign hanging high. Where are the people? Coming, coming, the door to the inner room creaked, and a middle-aged man wearing a robe and holding a quill hurried over. There was no sign of a professional on the man, but there was a jingling sound in his pocket, and there was a sound of coins. He seemed to be an accountant. Seeing the 4 gold stars on Carlyle's chest badge, he trembled and hurriedly bent down deeply. Are you looking for Gretel? He's not here today. Where are you going? Going to Oak Ridge. When did you go? Probably, we should have set off last night. The elders sent a message yesterday morning, saying that the physical examination has been arranged, so everyone can go there. There was a boat to pick up last night, and it should be here now. Master Carlyle almost lost his temper. It was almost dark. Did he have to rush there immediately in the middle of the night? Oak Ridge is dozens of miles away from Nevis. How about waiting 2 more days? The training class has 2 days off every 8 days. Today and tomorrow will be off. The day after tomorrow, you can find the little guy in the academy early in the morning, or maybe tomorrow night. Master Carlyle thought for a while, then shook his head and dismissed the idea. It's easy to wait for 2 days in the city, but what if the teacher asks? Oh, they went to Oak Ridge, I was too lazy to look for them, so I just waited at the college. Thinking of the teacher's thunderous wrath, Carlyle, even though he was a level 14 great magician, still shuddered and decisively summoned the phantom pony. He got on his horse, picked up the reins, and the magic mount flew into the air. Phantom pony, a 3rd level spell in the conjuration system, can be used by a 5th level mage. With Master Carlyle's 14th level wizard level, this magical horse can step through swamps and quicksand without any hindrance, can walk on water, and can even fly. From Nevis City to Oak Ridge, there is a big turn along the river. Of course, it is more convenient to fly directly there. The red sun gradually sets in the west. Master Carlyle drove furiously against the cold wind and finally arrived at Oak Ridge before it got dark. He inquired all the way, rushed to Elderwood's residence, raised his hand and cast a loudspeaker on himself. Wood. Is Gretel Nordmark where you are? This shout, even without amplification, was loud enough. However, it was quiet in the long room. No one answered, not even the slightest sound of footsteps or breathing. It took a long time before a priest apprentice came over from a very far distance in a hurry. Hello, master. The elder is out for business today. May I ask if you have any instructions? I can convey them to you. I'm not looking for him. Where is Gretel Nordmark? Ask him. He went to Augustus Castle with the elder. He said that he had made an appointment before to do a physical examination on the castle and promote a magical technique. Carlyle. No, luckily we came here to arrest someone today, otherwise he would have been abducted by the cult of nature. He nodded casually, raised the phantom pony, and flew high again. Castle Augustus is extremely easy to find. Start from the city of Nevis to the northeast, fly along rivers, lakes, and canals, and arrive at the starting point of Loch Ness. Looking down from a high altitude, the castle is brightly lit, with people coming and going, and there is a constant flow. Master Carlyle added 2 defensive magics to himself and swooped down. He hovered diagonally above the castle, raised the volume of his loudspeaker to the maximum, and shouted. Where is Gretel Nordmark? The whole castle was shaken by his roar. In the small room next to the hall downstairs, Greet held glycerin in one hand and a gut glove in the other, looking up with confusion on his face. "Why are you shouting like this? Aren't I just going out for a physical examination? We made an appointment more than a month ago, it's not like we just ran away temporarily. Even if the Magic Council doesn't give me an offer, I still have to support myself. What's wrong with being a doctor? I still have to collect information and publish a paper. Thanks to Adhatake Kakashi for the reward of 761 book coins. Please give me the guaranteed monthly ticket for this month, meow meow meow. Last month this book got 650 votes, and I want to get 1000 votes this month. It is said that I can participate in the lottery. Zayapushi also wants to work hard. Please subscribe, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, please ask for all kinds of. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 198. Chapter 198. The Thunder Horn supports you. Hey, it seems I can't afford it. After some commotion, Master Carlyle finally pressed down the phantom pony and descended from the air to the gate of the castle. The Augustus Castle also opened its door and welcomed this distinguished guest. On the castle tower, the 3 magic ballistae were leveled silently and no longer quietly pointed upward. Augustus Castle is a legacy left to his daughter by the first wife of the Earl of Inverness. It is also the largest castle in the Viscounty of Roche. The castle is surrounded by water on 3 sides, guarding the southwest end of Loch Ness, and blocking the loch entrance from Loch Ness to Loch Loch. Even people who know nothing about military affairs can tell at a glance that this castle is a battleground for military strategists. The castle is surrounded by thick stone walls, and in the center, a 3-story square building rises from the ground. The exterior wall is entirely white, shining under the lights from the top of the stone wall and the tower, adding a touch of beauty in addition to solemnity. A long bridge leads straight from the lake shore to the castle. The twin towers guard the castle gate and stand at the end of the long bridge. One man is in charge of the gate and no one can open it. At this moment, the heavy city gate was of course opened. Dame Luo 11 stood with a long sword hanging on her waist and stood in the middle of the city gate with a smile. On the left, Elder Wood was holding an oak staff and curling his beard subconsciously. On the right, Gretel had just been pulled out of the clinic with crooked hair. Yes, the sleeves are wet, and I am innocent, I know nothing, is written all over his face. Master Carlyle traveled dozens of miles and missed 3 times before finally finding the person. Seeing Greet's unconcerned look, he was angry and funny at the same time, but his anger calmed down. As soon as his anger subsided, he immediately returned to his original position. He slowly stepped forward and showed an apologetic smile to the Baroness. "Sorry, I was in such a hurry to find someone. Enter the castle, take a seat, serve refreshments, and chat." After a set of procedures was completed smoothly, Gretel was handed over from Elder Wood's hands to Master Carlyle's hands, and was thrown onto a flying carpet. "Follow me. Now." "Gretel. I haven't finished the physical examination, I haven't finished drawing the pictures, and I haven't finished teaching the priests yet." He swallowed all these words. Master Carlyle, a 14th level great magician, once saved his life, and hurriedly came to take him away in the middle of the night. You know, if you protest at this time, you have to have 5,800 tons of water in your head. He only asked one question. "Master Wood and the others, will something happen?" Carlyle gave him a surprised look. The stars were dim, the crescent moon was like a hook, and only a faint silver light emitted from the pattern of the flying carpet, allowing the 2 people to see each other's expressions clearly during the conversation. Carlyle observed carefully and saw that Gretel's worried expression did not seem to be fake, so he snorted. "You mean well. Don't worry, they're fine. That's my business. In other words, is it because I am alone when you rush here in such a hurry and take me away in the middle of the night?" Gretel breathed a sigh of relief, his mind raced, and he began to think hard about the intersection between himself and the great magician. If someone is seriously ill or injured, it should not be a problem. If there is a large-scale epidemic, it will not be a problem. Ultrasound, microscopes, bacteria. Phlogiston, he suddenly had an idea. Has that paper been drafted? Overdue. This kid really has confidence in himself. Master Carlyle snorted with his nose, deliberately not looking at Gretel, and looked up at the sky. You got into trouble, kid. Because of your paper, you injured a level 13 archmage. Ah, Gretel was shocked. A level 13 archmage? Injured? Because of his paper? What kind of injury is it? Is it serious? Can it be treated well? How much does treatment cost? Can I afford it? If that doesn't work, please ask Elderwood to take action first. Will you pay me back the treatment fee slowly? Gretel was secretly prepared to sell himself to pay off his debts. Of course, if it can be proven that the injury has nothing to do with him, such as being drained of magic power while testing magic, falling down the stairs, etc., then he will definitely have to work hard to resist the blackmail. Unexpectedly, Archmage Carlyle glanced at him and said slowly. The meditation environment breaks down. Oh. What? What it is? Why does the meditation environment collapse? What does it have to do with my thesis? Never heard of it? Before Greet could get to the bottom of things, Master Carlyle had already turned his face and stared at him with a stern face. Greet shrank back when he looked at him. This master was so kind when he saved him last time, but why is his face so ugly now? Is the injured archmage his friend? Or his relatives? Why are you running so far away? You can't study at the college if you have the leisure to travel dozens of miles. Or do you know that you got into trouble? Injured someone? You think you can escape by running from Oak Ridge to Fort Augustus? What are you? Why are you running when you have nothing to do? I didn't mean it, Gretel finally shouted. I made an appointment with the Baroness a long time ago. If I hadn't taught all the priests first, I wouldn't have delayed it until now. Besides, everyone else has somewhere to go, but I don't have one. There is no mage tower or academy that wants me. Isn't it enough for me to be a pastor? I can support myself as a pastor. You. Carlyle finally laughed angrily. There is no mage tower or academy that wants him. How many schools of thought fought for him? On the first day, I reported it to the review meeting, and the review meeting reported it to the legendary mages. A group of legendary mages closed their doors and quarreled all day and night. If the quarrel hadn't been like this, why would most of the students have already decided their whereabouts, and he was the only one who hadn't received the notice yet? Carlyle wanted to vomit loudly, but when the words came to his lips, he tried hard to swallow them back. He couldn't tell, but he told everything, and this boy became even more proud. He had already gone to the pastor's side. He tried to keep a straight face. From today on, you will stay in the School of Plasticity. Read books in Talion. Except for going to the training class, don't run around for me. If you have any papers, hand them over to me directly. Don't throw them away in vain. Go to the tower. What? Do I have a new home? Gretel was stunned on the flying carpet. Energy Shaping School. Is it really the Shaping School? He asked with a trembling tone. Seeing Carlyle nod in affirmation, Gretel raised his hands and couldn't help but jump. Yeah. My force field. My high temperature and pressure. My electricity. My EKG. Formaldehyde, ether, and propylene finally have hope. Low temperature oxygen separation has also seen the light of day. If you're lucky, you might be able to get an MRI. Sit down. Be careful of falling. Master Carlyle lowered the flying carpet in an emergency. Gretel was so excited that if she wasn't on the flying carpet, she would have wanted to jump up and spin 18 times in a row. Master Carlyle saw that he was so happy that he was about to fall off the flying carpet. With a finger, the windproof force field protecting the flying carpet opened a small crack, and a sharp cold wind blew in his face, choking Gretel on the spot. Cough, 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 cough. He lay on the edge of the flying carpet, grabbing the fluff on the carpet, coughing until tears burst out. After a while, the excitement gradually subsided, and then I remembered another thing. You can't lock me up. I want to make money. I want to see patients. If you don't let me treat people, I won't have money for experiments. What experiment do you want to do? Master Carlyle stroked his forehead. Gretel was confident. As for the follow-up experiments of that phlogiston paper, I already said, all substances that cannot be decomposed by any method are considered elements for us. I have to prove it in the follow-up. Write down your paper, conjectures, and experimental designs. Master Carlyle didn't even think about it. As long as your writing is reasonable, Thunder Corner has plenty of funding. You can apply for any project. You don't have to think of ways to make money on your own. How many experiments can a mere second-level mage design? From the projects of his disciples and grandsons, he randomly pulled out some funds and manpower, which was enough for this kid to build it. That's what you said. Gretel stayed in seclusion for 10 days. 10 days later, Master Carlyle was holding a foot-thick paper and experimental design, and he wished he could turn back time and erase his sentence. Only Greet himself knows that he combines junior high school chemistry, all relevant knowledge points suitable for demonstrating the existence of elements, and experimental plans for determining the elemental density of the first 20 elements in the periodic table and the 15th element in the metal list. All thrown out. There are also chemical instrument operation methods, gas weight and volume measurement methods, temperature measurement methods, titration analysis methods. I've wanted to do this for a long time. Emma, it's so painful to live in water, fire, and wind all day long. I want to test blood potassium, blood sodium, blood oxygen, and so on. I have to establish the concept of chemical elements first. There is an opportunity to work as a coolie for the Magic Council. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so hurry up and seize it. Another 2,600 words. Thanks to Etienne Han Waning Moon Shadow Mystery for the reward of 100 starting coins. Please give me the guaranteed monthly ticket for this month, meow meow meow. Last month this book got 650 votes, and I want to get 1,000 votes this month. It is said that I can participate in the lottery. Xiapushi also wants to work hard. Please subscribe, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews, please ask for all kinds of. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geolan 2020. Chapter 199. If Greet had divided these things into 6 years of junior high school and high school, no, even considering that there was only one book called chemistry, and slowly taken it out in 54 weeks a year, it would not have caused such a big shock. If Master Carlyle, who had obtained these papers and designs, had not reached level 14 and was already preparing to become a great magician of level 15, he would not have had such a vision to see that what Gretel had come up with was a complete system that was enough to overthrow the current theory throughout the wizarding world. What's even more frightening is that an experimental design is also attached. If you didn't make any preparations and just smashed this thick book out, I'm afraid the cornerstone of the entire Magic Council would collapse. So without saying a word, Master Carlyle picked up Gretel and stuffed him into the guest room of his residence in the Mage Tower. With another wave of his sleeves, a large pile of magic books flew out, building a low wall around Gretel. Stay well. I have something to ask you at any time. Gretel, oh. He sat down directly on the floor, rummaged around, pulled out a book called Spell Structure, from magic pattern scrolls to three-dimensional models, and started reading it attentively. Books. Hundreds of books. Go to the White Tower's big library to borrow one book a day for 1 gold coin. Now he can read whatever he wants for free. It's best for the magicians to slowly conduct experiments and wait until he has finished reading all these books. Gretel dove into the pile of books. Master Carlyle stood at the door of the guest room and watched for a moment. He saw Gretel sitting on the floor with his legs spread apart, leaning against the edge of the bed, reading a book that made people bury themselves in it. He shook his head and turned around to go out. Picking up the foot-thick pile of information, he headed straight to the Tower of Babel. Half a day later, the legendary mages stationed in the Babel Tower gathered together again. Decker, the little guy you fished into the Thunderhorn is really incredible. Helena failed to snatch the person, remembering that Gretel was still a little unhappy, and waved her fingers with a cold face. The papers on the long oval table moved automatically without any wind. With her slender fingers, she opened the pages backwards. These things, does he want to turn the entire Thunderhorn over? It's not just Thunderhorn. The rotation mage of the Change School was also full of regrets. These measurement methods, analysis methods, and formulas for the mutual transformation of acids, alkalis, and salts are simply tailor-made for their school of change. When their alchemists get this book, they want to offer the book and the people together. I wasn't decisive enough in the past few days. It's too late to grab someone. What a shame. Well, tomorrow, no, tonight, we will arrange for someone to do the experiment overnight. Wait, where did this kid come from? Mrs. Ender asked quietly, turning the crystal ball. Before Dickel could answer, the lich from the Black Crow swamp floated up again, and 2 red lights shot straight out of the skull's eyes. Who cares where he comes from? It's true that he suppressed the plague, it's true that he treated the wounded soldiers, and it's true that he fought to the death with the Lord of Glory Church. It's better to check. It's not that I'm afraid that he is a spy, but what if he comes from another dimension? Mrs. Endo pondered. She raised her head from the black veil and turned to the legendary mage of the enchantment and control system diagonally opposite. Otherwise, why don't you go and ask? No, Dickel refused angrily. What can the confusion and control system ask? If you don't ask, how can he admit it? That's right. Even if you want to ask, it's us from the necromancer department who will ask. The lich's eyes flashed red, and his upper and lower teeth clicked together, as if he was smiling. Deckard turned to glare at him. The electric current in his monocle flashed without any sign of weakness. Are you asking? You are just weaving memories directly. Gretel is our Thunderhorn guy. It's our own child. No one else is allowed to stretch out their claws. Let's verify what he took out first. When the quarrel broke out, the good old man who was still from the protection school stroked his beard and spoke slowly. This old gentleman is the oldest among the legendary mages and has always been the most popular. 8 out of 10 of the younger mages have taken care of him. As soon as he spoke, the tense atmosphere in the conference room eased, and everyone stopped and listened. Regardless of this, whether there is a problem with Gretel's origins or whether the things he brought out are correct can always be verified. During the verification period, Thunderhorn is responsible for keeping an eye on him and not letting anyone run away or causing trouble. Come, can you? Dickel turned to look at the disciple behind him. Carlyle had been standing not far behind him. Seeing the teacher's eyes, he took a step forward. I think it's okay. I threw a lot of books at him when I left, and now he is huddled in the pile of books. It looks like he can't pull the pile of books out without chewing them all. As soon as he said this, all the mages in the conference room laughed. Anyone who can become a legendary mage has a time when he forgets to sleep and eat, studying hard with all his heart, and he can empathize with Gretel's performance. Even Mrs. Ender, who was the first to express doubts, Her eyes softened slightly. Deckard took the opportunity to knock on the table. Since we are talking about this topic, we can also discuss the reward for Gretel. You should have read and verified the paper on phlogiston. How many research points is this paper worth? And how much is it worth? Contribution point? The review committee put the problem in my hands. As he spoke, he leaned back, crossed his arms, and had an expression on his face that said, "He is from Thunderhorn, I will avoid suspicion and I won't say anything." The white-robed mage of the conjuration system smiled at the interface. Thesis is a thesis, and magic is magic. I have verified the improved version of Burning Hand, and it is very good. With the strength of a level 1 mage, it can indeed produce the power of dragon breath, but the casting materials are a bit expensive. In the past few days, the price of purple scale stone has increased 5 times. Everyone laughed. Purple scale stone is a product of alchemy. It is not an ore stored in nature. Once Gretel's paper came out, even if the Magic Council carefully blocked the news, it could not stop insiders from rushing to buy it. The white-robed mage waited for everyone to laugh for a while and said leisurely. Based on many factors such as magic level, difficulty of casting spells, availability of casting materials, power, etc., it is recommended to award 100 research points and 500 contribution points. Everyone gasped. This reward is really generous. In comparison, Gretel's X-ray magic paper, which allowed him to be admitted to the training class, was only awarded 2 research points and 3 contribution points. More importantly, the Magic Council's reward number for new magic generally determines the exchange price of this magic. For example, if this magic rewards 500 contribution points, then its external exchange price is 50 contribution points. These contribution points will be divided equally between the Magic Council and the mages who submitted magic within 10 years. 10 years later, the magician's share ratio was reduced to 30%. With the popularity of Burning Hand and the power of the improved version, even a high-level mage who doesn't know how to do it can still learn it now, and Burning Hand is not a rare magic. Everyone has to tighten their belts. Squeeze in and redeem a wave. With this income, Gretel, as a second-level magician, would be able to spend at least enough to reach level 5. But is it expensive? Not expensive. A first-level mage works as a receptionist in the service hall of the Magic Council headquarters. After working for a month, he can earn 5 contribution points. If you save for a year, even if you save for 2 years, it will be enough. In the eyes of the Magic Council, releasing such a magic greatly enhances the strength of the magicians under its command, making them laugh out loud. Think of a first-level magician traveling in the wild. When he encounters a small group of cavalry from the Lord of Glory, he raises his hand and strikes a modified version of the Burning Hand. Just thinking about it makes me feel so happy. Win-win, no, Gretel, Magic Council, many magicians, 3 win. Thank you at my wife in the world for the most beautiful reward of 100,000 starting coins to the Master World Invitational fandom. I'm so happy that you said you tipped it to the author of the previous book. I love that everyone liked my last book. That fanfic was really written with countless efforts and tears. Thanks at I never knew what I should change my name to reward 1,500 starting coins. Thank you at and wish to return the 588 book coins rewarded by Hideo. Thanks to at Magical Girl Pika Meow for the reward of 300 starting coins. Thanks to at Book Friend 201706011750400534 for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thank you at for your support. 100 book coins for reward. Please subscribe, ask for monthly tickets, ask for recommendation votes, ask for book reviews. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 200. Little did Gretel trapped Nordmark know that a windfall was already on his way. He was holding the collection of books given by Master Carlyle and huddled in the guest room, looking at them in ecstasy. If Master Carlyle hadn't left instructions in advance for the students to come in and grab him to eat 3 meals a day, Greet would have starved to death in the guest room. Of course, if this happens, the Magic Council as a whole will not suffer much loss. It's nothing more than a big loss in Thunderhorn and a big profit in Black Crow Swamp. Therefore, even if it is for its own benefit, Thunderhorn has to take good care of the person. At least it cannot open the door one day and the person has suddenly died in the guest room, and has to go underground to call the necromancy school for help. Greet was busy reading a book, and in the Tower of Babel, the meeting of legendary mages was also continuing. The white-robed mage from the conjuration department waited for a moment, and when no one raised any objections, he concluded. Then it's settled. As usual, the new magic will be named Nordmark's Burning Hand, and it will be added to the Parliament's magic library and open for redemption? Do you need any special recommendations? Don't want. Don't want. Two voices expressed opposition at the same time. The two legendary mages looked at each other, and Master Dickel nodded slightly, indicating that the one from the transformation department would speak first. The master of the transformation department smiled bitterly, wiped his rough hands on the leather jacket, and then rubbed his nose. It's best not to hang it out right away. Purple scale stone, we can't do much with that thing for a while. Master Deckard laughed. Although he couldn't make purple scale stones himself, he couldn't help but curl up his eyes when he imagined a group of mages from the transformation department working overtime and sweating like rain, but still failing to keep up with the shipment volume, feeling pain and happiness at the same time. He nodded to the other party and turned to the white-robed mage. Gret Nordmark is only a level 2 magician. Oh, okay, the white-robed mage nodded. He changed his tune calmly. In view of the fact that the power and influence of this magic is too great and the level of the creator is too low, in order to protect the creator, as usual, its information will be kept secret for the time being. Then this magic will be named, improved version of Burning Hands. Burning Hand Dragon Breath. Your ability to name names is still so bad next to the white-robed mage, Helena complained coldly. You've gone so far as to name it, why can't you call it Dragon Breath Hand? The white-robed mage was not angry at all when the lady complained about it. He just smiled and raised his hand to scratch his hair. The long blonde hair fell down with his movements, and coupled with his gentle smile, at first glance, it looked like a soft-haired golden retriever, crouching down and wagging its tail. Others are quite accustomed to their interactions. The old man from the protection school lowered his head and brushed his writing. After writing down the name Hand of Dragon's Breath and the Magic Council's reward plan, he passed it to the right-hand side. A group of legendary mages took photos of the secret marks one by one. This agenda ended and moved on to the next one. So, where's the paper? Paper. There was another moment of silence. If the value of Hand of Dragon Breath is 100 points and 500 contribution points, then the value of the paper that overturned phlogiston theory must be at least doubled. There are all legendary mages here, even those who are not specialized in the school of plasticity can tell. Gretel Nordmark's paper, combined with the spell model of Dragon's Breath Hand, has guiding significance for all fire magic. In other words, as long as the position of the purple scale stone and the power of the spell are added to the spell structure of any magic, from the apprentice level spark spell, to the 3rd level fireball spell, to the 9th level meteor burst, it can be pushed to an incredible level. Ahem, of course, it is not recommended to do this rashly with level 8 or 9 spells. Otherwise, it may cause a tragedy with a range of 100 meters and an explosion range of 200 meters. While killing the enemy, or even before killing the enemy, the mage himself will be killed first. This is a groundbreaking paper. As a leader in the plastic energy department, Deckard cleared his throat and was the first to speak. Mrs. Ender added coldly under the black veil, subversive. Yes, You said subversive is subversive. Who said you are from the prophecy department? Discard nodded in recognition. The white-robed mage from the conjuration school said. The ideas pointed out in this paper may be applicable to all magic in the fire system. But follow-up evidence is needed, Helena interjected coolly, as if she agreed or added an explanation. The white-robed mage smiled at her again. Yes, the follow-up demonstration and research work is quite complicated. I have seen that the magazines in the next 3 months are full of papers studying this direction. As you can imagine, each article must contribute a citation. He tapped his fingertips on the paper in front of him, eliciting another wave of envy from Gretel. A paper cited once is 1 research point. If there are 100 papers that have passed parliamentary review or even been published in journals and added to the citation list, it means that Greet does nothing and 100 research points will be recorded. So many points are enough to push his arcane level from level 1 Arcanist to level 3 in one go. More subsidies, higher redemption rights, and even higher rights to apply for projects are all beckoning to Greet. Moreover, the guiding significance of this paper is for all fire magic. All. A magician once made statistics and found that the average number of citations for each paper published in various journals in the magic world was 0.5 times per year. The number of citations for a paper like Common Arcanist Monthly hovers between 5 and 7 times. Only 2 journals, Arcane and Magic, have an average number of citations of more than 20, which ranks them among the best. And Gretel's article. What needs to be asked is not whether there will be 100 citations. What needs to be asked is, how long will it take to accumulate 100 citations? 3 months? 5 months? Or half a year? Obviously, the Magic Council's reward for this paper will never be less than half a year's worth of citation points. For the purpose of protecting the creator, we will not publish the name of the author of the paper for the time being, or let a legendary mage name it first. Descarte, will you go and communicate with the author? The old magician of the protection faction slowly pondered. As for the specific reward, how about everyone write a number, remove the highest, remove the lowest, and take the average? There was no objection to this proposal. After a flurry of notes flying around, the reward for a paper on the nature of combustion also appeared in front of everyone. 300 research points, 1000 contribution points. As soon as the scores came out, the legendary mages were speechless for a moment. For a groundbreaking, subversive, and instructive paper, this reward is not high, or even a little low. However, by the way, how many levels of Arcanist is he now? Everyone started to look through the information in a noisy manner. The answer came out in a moment. I had 45 research points before, plus the ones I just got today, a total of 445 points, 4 rings. 4th level Arcanist, 2nd level Magician. Wearing this kind of badge on your body when you go out is equivalent to clearly saying I am bad, but I am very important and have great potential, and most of them are very rich. After all, the issuance of research points is usually accompanied by the issuance of a large number of contribution points. If spies from the Lord of Radiance Church lurked in and saw a magician like Gretel, they would definitely find ways to kill them. Even if you don't encounter a traitor, your own people might be tempted to do something when they see Gretel like this. But not sending it? Less hair? Temporary suspension? Impossible. The reason why the Magic Council has credibility is based on fairness in handling affairs. Decker, lock this kid up at the top of the mountain and don't let him get away in the short term. The old magician rubbed his brows with a headache. He turned to all the legendary mages and looked around quickly. This year's Emerging Magician Award will be awarded to Gretel Nordmark. Does anyone have any objections? None. Well, Winston, the magic equipment as the prize is up to you. Leave it to me. The transformation boss rubbed his palms with excitement on his face. It's now customizable again. You can now use the precious materials in the Magic Council's secret vault to do what you want. You can also make friends with a future star. Those things he throws out are very helpful to the change system. You must build a good relationship. Must. That night, Greet received the news about the award and his inquiry about the equipment requirements. What kind of magic equipment do you want? Greet thought hard. I don't want rings, I don't want bracelets, watches, in short, I don't want anything on my hands or wrists. It's best not to wear necklaces. Why? It's inconvenient to enter the operating room. Then what do you want? Archmage Carlyle felt as if his veins were about to pop out of his forehead. He resisted the urge to rant and complained with a straight face. Can I get you some earrings? Don't want it anymore, Greet shuddered as he pictured himself wearing a pair of earrings, or an earring dangling below his earlobe. If you can, could you help me fix Bernard's bone rod? Roll. The emerging magician is awarding an award, and I will give you a bone stick that is taller than a human head. Oh, based on your height, it is almost 1.5 times as high as you are. Can you see the picture? Greet was thus deprived of the right to make demands. Moreover, when he pulled his head out of the pile of books and asked to attend training classes and visit treatment centers, he was ruthlessly rejected. Stay well. Read books. Learn magic. When will I finish reading all these books and learn all level 0 and level 1 magic? When will I let you out? By the way, there will also be your meditation method. Which one are you using now? Basic version. Greet spoke more quietly. To be honest, he almost forgot about changing the meditation method. From the beginning until now, Gretel has been using the basic meditation method on the first floor of the Mage Tower, which is a basic meditation method that auditors can learn by themselves. There are indeed better versions in the Mage Tower, but those are modifications to the core of meditation. Gretel feels that it would be better for him to build his own version based on medical reference books. After arriving at the Magic Council headquarters, Gretel took time to explore the exchange centers in the Academy and the White Tower. There are 3 meditation methods in the Academy that can be redeemed for free, all of which require student status and student performance, which Greet does not have. The other 4 are for teachers in the Academy, which Greet does not have, so I had to give up with regret. As for the offices of the Parliament, that is, at the White Tower, there is no restriction on arcane level, no specialization school, no need to join any magic organization. It is directly open for redemption, the cheapest one, 1,000 contribution points. Yes, it's contribution points, not gold coins. Use contribution points to exchange gold coins. The Magic Council is open to exchange at a ratio of 1:1. Use gold coins to exchange contribution points. Sorry, the Magic Council will not exchange them. Is it on the black market? Gretel secretly inquired about it, and it is not possible to exchange gold coins at a ratio of 2:1. Greet touched the money bag on his body and saw that there were less than 200 gold coins in total. Goodbye. So now, I can learn a new meditation method. Will it be given to me for free? I have no money. Seeing Gretel's helpless look, Archmage Carlyle wanted to cover his forehead, or give him a brain-destroying blow. This is the benefit of joining a big organization. Did you just understand? Meditation methods that can accelerate the growth of mental power and improve the efficiency of mental power utilization. This kind of thing that is directly equivalent to core competitiveness are in the hands of major universities and major mage organizations. Don't give it to anyone who asks for it, even the Magic Council doesn't give it to anyone who asks for it. Papers can be published for free, spell models can be exchanged, the core meditation method, the most critical and highest level magic ritual, never. If you are a low-level magician who has sharpened his head and got in, you must work hard to please your mentor and contribute to the organization. You hope that your mentor will like you and give you a good meditation method. But people like Greet, who were brought in by name by the boss. Who dares to deduct? Who dares? From his mentor to himself, as well as the big bosses from Thunderhorn and other branches of the evocation school, they are all thinking hard about how to get this kid to level up as soon as possible and have the power to protect himself as soon as possible. Archmage Carlyle flicked his palm. With a crash, 3 scrolls, 2 magic crystals, and a piece of golden fur covered with writing fell down one after another. He pointed at the pile of things casually. No money. If you join the Thunderhorn, the meditation method will definitely be given to you. Take a good look at it yourself and choose the one that suits you. If you don't understand, ask me. I picked it, and there are matching magic rituals and magic potions. Use several methods together to level up faster. Gretel. Just unroll the scroll and read it. The words on the fur, I don't really recognize them. Do I have to look them up in a dictionary later? Tell me how to read this magic crystal. It's still like the legendary jade slip, stick it on your forehead, and the information will be automatically instilled. By the way, there are also potions. Which meditation method doesn't require potions? You still don't want to take medicine? Do you think it's easy to find a potion that permanently enhances mental power? Gretel stared at him warily, determined not to give in. Potion? What goes into your mouth? This is not a popular product like energy potion or healing potion, it has been refined and certified for quality. A rare potion, who knows what its ingredients are and where it comes from? What is pharmacology? What is the target? Is there any human toxicity? What are the adverse reactions and are there any contraindications? What are the pharmacokinetics like, how long does it take for the blood concentration to reach the peak, and how is it metabolized? Has it been tested on animals and passed phase 3 clinical trials? Is it certified by the Food and Drug Administration? No. Is it certified by a specialized agency of the Magic Council? Has the shelf life expired? Is the quality reliable? Will the person dispensing the medicine have trembling hands? Which material has 50% more added? Do not drink medicines without provenance or quality assurance unless absolutely necessary. Thanks to it, you need to dip your eggs in soy sauce, at Fubgid for the 100 starting coins. 2 chapters in 1. Contains 10,000 rewards and more updates. Please give me a monthly pass, a recommendation vote, a collection, and a book review. Is there anyone who hasn't voted for the guaranteed monthly ticket in July? Remember to give it to me.